I'm Amy Delore with Washington Examiner, and we're here today with Daniel Cameron, the former Kentucky Attorney General, CEO of the 1792 Exchange, which is a nonprofit that goes after the DEI and woke policies of corporations, and for our purposes today, now candidate for Kentucky Senator. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Amy, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be with you and your viewers.
Yes. And so last time we spoke, I asked if you were running, and you said you had to get your wife's permission. So I'm assuming that conversation went well.
I was about to say, you got a good memory. Mackenzie and I made the decision to jump into this race for the United States Senate, and feel very strongly about the opportunity to serve and fight for the men, women, and children of our 120 counties, and ensure that they have a fighter in Washington, D.C. that's going to focus on making sure that we have a merit and opportunity society, that we fight for our coal and natural gas industry, that we support President Trump's agenda. I think Kentuckians want that and are ready for that leadership, and I'm hopeful to be able to bring it.
So when I was on the campaign trail last year, the number one thing voters told me, well, it was a tie. It was economy and immigration. What kind of policies do you want to bring back to your Commonwealth as senator that will address these issues?
Well, I think for the economy, I mean, we've got certainly a substantial start on that front with the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill. If I was in the United States Senate, I would have voted for that, because I know at the end of the day, the majority of Kentuckians voted on an economic agenda that the president put forth. And certainly when you think about no tax on tips and Social Security and overtime, those are things that I think most Kentuckians agree with. And if we're about making sure that this is an economic agenda that fits for all, those are really important points. So I certainly would have voted for the Big Beautiful Bill. I also think on the immigration front, look, I was the Attorney General of Kentucky for 4 years, and when you have a porous southern border, that means fentanyl makes its way across the border and into Kentucky and hurts our families. So I believe we've got to secure that southern border, and I would fight for that as an advocate in the United States Senate and vote for any measure that would allow us to bring new and additional resources to that southern border, because again, it's about securing our families and communities in Kentucky.
Absolutely. We definitely learned during the Biden administration that every state is now a border state.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So again, former Attorney General, and also your time with the nonprofit, I'd love to get your opinion on the Scrimeti Supreme Court decision, which allows Tennessee to ban medical procedures to transgender children. Now, I have another case that I've been following out of Virginia where a biological man got a job at Liberty University, a predominant Christian university, and after the 90-day period said, I would like to be called she, her, and came out as a woman. The university fired him, saying, you specifically signed documents saying we don't support this at our university. He sued. It's now making its way to the Supreme Court. Do you think the Scrimeti case possibly is a preview to how the High Court could shake out other transgender ideology cases coming forward, as this one is specifically pitting freedom of religion against transgender ideology?
Well, Amy, if you don't mind, let me take a step back and just talk about this as a broader issue. I think when the president said in his inauguration that we're going to return to radical common sense, this is what he meant. I mean, most parents don't want their kids to be taken advantage of by some of this stuff we're seeing related to doctors who are providing in these surgeries and procedures. We want kids to maintain and retain the innocence of youth. And so, again, I'm glad to see this radical return to common sense on this front, and was delighted on the Supreme Court's case, particularly because I think of Jonathan Scrimeti as a friend and somebody who's fighting diligently to protect our kids from what is ultimately nonsense. When it comes to this new case, I certainly think what we saw from the Supreme Court was, one, a decision to return to common sense, but also following the law. And in particular, when you think about religious freedom, Liberty University should have every right and ability to say who they want to work for them. And this sounds like a little bit of a bait and switch, somebody that came in under one set of pretenses simply to try to make a point. So I fully support Liberty University. A couple of weeks ago, on the day that there were a lot of rulings that helped the Trump administration regarding these district court judges that were issuing these nationwide injunctions, the United States Supreme Court said, not so fast, can't do that. On that very same day, there was a case out of Maryland, Montgomery County, that was about kids and what things that they were being taught in school, and a parent's ability to opt out of that, what was being taught simply on religious grounds. The court made a very forceful argument in compelling theory as it relates to religious liberty and saying that parents should be able to opt out of those sorts of learnings or educational programs. I think they will say something very similar in this case related to Liberty University, that religious liberty has to mean something, particularly in the higher ed scenario, and I think they'll ultimately rule in Liberty's favor.
I think that would definitely set a good precedent.
I absolutely believe so, yeah.
So you've had numerous endorsements from law enforcement. In Lexington, a Kentucky state police officer was shot and 3 people were killed, including the suspect, during a shooting at an airport and a church this past Sunday. Do you think the mood has shifted from defund the police and now in support of the police? And also just how, as a senator, you plan to keep the people in your Commonwealth safe?
Yeah, well, let me start by saying, my heart and Mackenzie's heart breaks for those that were injured or lost their lives in what is a senseless tragedy that unfolded in Lexington, and seems like it might have started close to the Bluegrass Airport and then made its way to this church. You should never go to church and have this evil unfold on you in that context. So again, our heart goes out for those that are in the midst of that. What I've been often just really proud of is that in the majority of counties in the Commonwealth, I dare say all the counties of the Commonwealth, people really love our law enforcement community and support them. And I think it's important to have a senator in the United States Senate that is going to say unabashedly that we back and stand for the blue. And that's why people know that I will do that, and I've got a track record to prove that, and it's why I've earned the endorsement of so many, over 50 law enforcement officials already in this campaign, not to mention the endorsements that I've had in previous campaigns. And so people know that I stand for law and order and will do what's right by our laws in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, regardless of if someone's protesting on my front lawn. So we've got a track record of standing up for our law enforcement community. One of the things that I've been proud of my successor, if you will, in the Attorney General's office is that he recently started a program that allows for more protective equipment, primarily bulletproof vests, to be sent out to the relative agencies, law enforcement agencies in the counties. I want to be able to amplify that in the United States Senate and really encourage more resources to make it to our state to support our law enforcement community to keep them safe. And so I'll be a big advocate for them, and I'm hopeful that they know, and I think it's demonstrated by the fact so many of them have endorsed me, that I'm going to be that strong supporter that they need in the United States Senate. Because, look, at the end of the day, there are so many families in Kentucky that rely on those that are willing to be the watchmen at the gate, those that are willing to be up patrolling the streets at night while we sleep safely in our homes. And so they certainly need somebody that's going to support and advocate for them in the Senate.
Daniel Cameron, candidate for Kentucky Senate, thank you so much for joining me today.
Amy, it's a delight. Thank you very much.
And for those of you who want to see more exclusive interviews, straight news, and conservative views, head to washingtonexaminer.com.